Have you ever noticed how quiet it gets when no one is around, and how that silence can feel heavier than noise? That moment when the world slows down and you're left alone with your thoughts. It's not just empty space, it's a mirror. And for many, that mirror feels unbearable. You start hearing things you pushed away. Regrets, doubts, memories. Your mind races to fill the silence because it feels safer to distract yourself than to face the truth hiding underneath. But what if the silence isn't the problem? What if the fear of being alone is just a signal, a sign pointing you towards something deeper that you've been avoiding your whole life? We live in a world that convinces us happiness is outside of us. It's in the relationship we don't have yet, the job we think will fix everything, the approval we crave. So we keep chasing, keep running, hoping someone or something will fill that quiet space inside. But no one tells you this. No one else can do that for you. Not really. And when you're finally alone, when there's no one left to impress, no one left to perform for, you're forced to look at yourself and ask a question that most never dare to ask: who am I when no one's watching? That question is the doorway. Because the truth is, loneliness isn't your enemy. It's a signal that you've lost connection with the most important person in your life, yourself. But here's the powerful part: you can change that. You can turn loneliness into your greatest teacher. That silence you fear, it holds answers you've been too busy to hear. In that space, you discover the parts of yourself you've been neglecting, hiding, or trying to fix through someone else. And when you finally learn to be happy alone, something shifts. You stop needing others to complete you. You stop chasing love that doesn't love you back. You start becoming the person you've always needed. This isn't about giving up on people. It's about finding peace within yourself so that when others come into your life, they're not filling a hole. They're adding to a fullness that already exists. And that's real power. That's the kind of strength no one can take from you. It's not found in noise. It's born in stillness. If you can sit with yourself, if you can learn to be whole without needing a crowd or a partner to validate your worth, then you unlock a kind of freedom most people never taste. So stay with me. Because by the end of this journey, you're going to see that being alone is not a punishment. It's an invitation. It's the space where healing begins, where courage grows, and where the most important relationship of your life finally comes alive, the one you have with yourself. You were never meant to abandon yourself just to be accepted by others. Yet for years, that's what you've been taught: to shrink, to smile, to silence your needs for the comfort of those around you. And now, in the quiet moments, you feel the weight of that betrayal. Not from someone else, from within. Because every time you chose someone else's approval over your own peace, a piece of you went missing. You didn't lose yourself all at once. It happened slowly. 1,000 little compromises. 1,000 little moments where you said, "It's fine," when it wasn't. But now, here you are, alone, not because you're broken, but because your soul is finally tired of pretending. This space you're standing in, this silence, it isn't punishment. It's the return to yourself. And yes, it feels raw, it feels unfamiliar. But don't run from it. This is the place where you begin again. This is where you reclaim your worth, not from someone's validation, but from the simple fact that you exist, that you breathe, that you are here. Even after everything, you've survived your own silence. That alone makes you powerful beyond measure. Happiness alone doesn't mean sitting in isolation with a fake smile. It means facing what's real without distraction. It means being brave enough to sit with your fears and ask them what they're trying to protect. It means giving yourself permission to feel sadness, to feel anger, to feel joy, without asking anyone else to approve it. You begin to realize that the emotions you once ran from are actually your compass. And when you stop trying to numb them, they guide you home. The world will always try to convince you that something is missing, that you need more followers, more friends, more validation. But what if nothing is missing? What if everything you're looking for has been buried underneath the noise? You don't need to become someone else. You need to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. This is where strength is born. Not in the moments when everyone claps for you, but in the quiet hours when you stand up for yourself with no one watching. When you decide to no longer beg for love, but instead offer it to yourself unconditionally. When you stop waiting for someone to save you and instead choose to save yourself. That is the moment everything begins to change. Right now, you're not lost. You're returning to your own voice, your own pace, your own truth. And if you stay long enough in that space, if you resist the urge to run, you'll find something you never expected: peace. The kind that doesn't depend on anyone else. The kind that can't be taken away. The kind that tells you finally you are enough, just as you are. Alone, yes, but never empty. Never less. Only more whole with every silent breath you dare to take. There is a kind of power that comes when you stop waiting. Waiting for the text, the invitation, the apology, the recognition. You've waited long enough. You've paused your own life hoping someone else would finally see you, finally understand you, finally choose you. But now you realize your life doesn't begin when others show up. It begins the moment you decide you're already enough without them. That's the shift. That's the moment when you stop begging for crumbs and start building your own table. You are not here to chase. You are here to create. And when you stop chasing people who were never meant to stay, you free up your energy to build a life that feels like peace. The right people, the right moments, they're drawn to that energy. But first you must claim it. You must sit in the discomfort of letting go. You must grieve what never became. And then, in that sacred emptiness, you begin to see clearly that no one was ever meant to complete you, that you were not born half of anything. You were born whole, and the world simply taught you to forget. But you are remembering now. You are remembering the strength in your voice, the fire in your gut, the wisdom in your silence. And slowly, what once felt like loneliness starts to feel like freedom. You're no longer performing, no longer proving. You're just being. And that's more than enough. There is no greater rebellion than choosing peace in a world addicted to noise. And there is no greater love than the one you give yourself when no one else shows up. This is where your power lives, not in the hands of someone who doesn't call back, not in the arms of temporary comfort, but in your own breath, steady and grounded. You begin to see that solitude is not the absence of love, it's the foundation of it. Because if you can't love yourself in the silence, you will only ever be addicted to the sound of someone else's voice. You will only ever feel safe when others are near. And that is not freedom. That is dependence dressed as connection. So breathe right now. Breathe and feel what it means to exist without needing to impress, to explain, to convince. You are not a project. You are not a mistake to be fixed. You are a soul becoming. And the more you allow yourself to stand in the fullness of who you are, unfiltered, unshaken, the less you need anyone else to tell you that you matter. You already do. The world doesn't give you that worth. It rises in you the moment you stop running from yourself and start standing with yourself. You are no longer waiting. You are becoming. Becoming the kind of person who no longer fears solitude but honors it. The kind who doesn't chase but attracts. The kind who doesn't beg for love because they've already found it within. It's time to stop believing that silence means something is wrong. You've been conditioned to fill every moment with noise, scrolling, talking, planning, proving. Because you've been taught that stillness is weakness. That quiet means you're falling behind. But silence is not the absence of life. It's where life speaks the loudest. It's where you hear the truth beneath the noise. And if you can learn to be present in that stillness, you'll uncover the voice that matters most, your own. You don't have to keep searching outside yourself for permission to feel whole. You don't need to be in a relationship to feel worthy. You don't need a crowd to feel seen. You need to look inward and meet the part of you that has been waiting to be chosen by you. Because the deepest wound isn't being left by someone else. It's abandoning yourself over and over again just to avoid feeling alone. That cycle ends the moment you decide your presence is not a void to fill, but a space to honor. There's a quiet kind of confidence that rises when you stop asking others to reflect back your value. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's the kind of confidence that walks into an empty room and still feels full. That kind of confidence is born from doing the hard work in silence, from learning to enjoy your own company, from facing your shadows instead of chasing distractions. When you begin to enjoy your own presence, you stop needing to escape it. You stop begging for attention that only feeds your insecurity. You start building a foundation of self-trust so solid, no one else's absence can shake it. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not too much or not enough. You're just in the process of remembering that you were always worthy of peace, even when the world told you otherwise. The fear of being alone isn't the problem. It's the story you've attached to it. The idea that solitude equals failure. That being by yourself means you've done something wrong. But the truth is, being alone is often the first sign you're finally doing something right. You've stopped settling. You've stopped pretending. You've stopped dimming your light just to fit in. That's not loneliness. That's liberation. So lean into this season. Lean into the silence. Let it strip away everything that was never truly yours. Let it bring you face to face with who you are when no one is watching. That's where the real work begins. That's where self-respect grows. Not from what others give you, but from what you give yourself when no one else is around to notice. You're not just learning to be happy alone. You're learning to become someone who no longer fears their own company. Someone who doesn't run from themselves, but runs toward the truth within. And that, more than anything, is what sets you free. Most people never find real peace because they spend their whole lives avoiding themselves. They pour their energy into people who don't see them, into roles that don't fit them, into noise that keeps them from hearing the truth. And in that chaos, they forget what it means to just be, to exist without pressure, to breathe without performance. But you are not most people. You are waking up to something deeper. You are learning that the quiet you once feared is where your power lives. The silence you used to run from is no longer your enemy. It's your mirror, your sanctuary, your teacher. There is a version of you that doesn't chase love. It becomes love. That doesn't beg to be chosen. It chooses itself every day. That doesn't cling to what isn't working. It lets go without guilt. That version is already inside you. It's not waiting to be created. It's waiting to be uncovered. Beneath the fear, beneath the noise, beneath the need to be anything other than exactly who you are. The more you return to yourself, the more peace becomes your default, not your reward. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop measuring your worth by how many people stay. You begin to realize that true connection doesn't come from being surrounded. It comes from being seen. And sometimes the only person who truly needs to see you is you. That moment when you sit in your own presence and feel enough, without performance, without filters, without anyone clapping, that's the moment you break free. You stop living to be chosen and start living as though you already are, because you are. This journey is not about escaping loneliness, it's about transforming it, about turning emptiness into empowerment, about discovering that solitude is not something to survive, it's something to embrace. You no longer fear being alone because you're no longer waiting for someone else to validate your existence. You're no longer putting your joy in someone else's hands. You've taken it back. And with that reclaiming comes a strength that no relationship, no achievement, no external thing can ever replace. The love you've been searching for is not something someone else brings. It's what you uncover when you stop looking outside yourself for worth. When you show up for yourself the way you always wanted others to. When you honor your own boundaries, speak your truth, and hold your heart with the same tenderness you've given everyone else. That's not selfish. That's sacred. That's healing. You don't need to be saved. You need to remember who you are when everything else falls away. You are not lacking. You are not waiting. You are rising. Rising into the version of yourself that is whole in solitude, grounded in stillness, and no longer afraid of the silence. Because now, the silence is not empty. It's full of you. And that is more than enough. You were never meant to spend your life proving your worth to people who don't even know how to value themselves. That's why it always felt exhausting. That's why no matter how much you gave, it was never enough. Because the real problem was never you. It was the belief that you had to earn love to deserve it. That belief was planted in your past, but you have the power to pull it out by the roots. You are not here to perform. You are here to be real. And being real means learning to love yourself in a world that profits from your self-doubt. True happiness doesn't come from being surrounded. It comes from being centered, from knowing that your peace cannot be disturbed by someone else's absence, from realizing that your joy doesn't live in anyone else's hands. You are allowed to be full, even when no one is clapping. You are allowed to smile without explaining yourself. You are allowed to breathe deeply and say, "This moment is enough. I am enough." When you stop tying your worth to someone else's response, you finally feel free. Not because you've gained anything new, but because you've stopped giving yourself away. There is something sacred about being able to sit with yourself and feel peace. To not need a voice to distract you, a screen to numb you, a person to validate you, just you and your breath and your presence. That kind of peace isn't found outside, it's cultivated. It's built in the moments when you honor your own needs, listen to your own intuition, and trust your own timing. When you stop rushing to fill the silence, you begin to hear the wisdom inside it. And what it tells you is this: you've always been whole. You've always been worthy. You've just been looking in the wrong direction. The world told you that alone meant lonely, but you're learning that alone can mean aligned with your purpose, aligned with your truth, aligned with your soul. And when you live in alignment, you stop settling for relationships that drain you, conversations that numb you, and environments that shrink you. You no longer tolerate being half seen or half heard. Because once you've tasted the fullness of your own company, anything less than mutual respect feels like silence. Your healing isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's steady, quiet, unshakable. It grows in the space where you once felt abandoned and fills it with something deeper, self-trust. When you trust yourself, you no longer fear the quiet. You welcome it. Because you know that what lives there isn't emptiness. It's truth. It's the real you, unmasked and unafraid. You are not alone because you are unworthy. You are alone because this chapter is about you, your growth, your healing, your rebirth. And when you rise from this silence, you won't be who you were. You'll be who you were always meant to become, powerful, whole, and free. Growth begins the moment you stop waiting to be rescued. It begins when you stop believing that someone else's presence will complete you. You are not half of anything. You are already whole. What you're craving is not another person's energy. It's your own presence. The deeper truth is that nobody can truly meet you until you've met yourself. Not the version you've polished to be accepted, not the mask you wear to be loved, but the real, raw, unfiltered version of you, the one who's been silenced, shamed, and overlooked. That self is not broken. That self is not too much. That self is the beginning of everything real. When you stop outsourcing your happiness, you start reclaiming your power. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first. Because the silence brings up everything you've been avoiding. But that discomfort is a doorway, not a wall. Walk through it. Feel what you need to feel. Cry if you must. Grieve if you must. But don't run. Don't numb. Don't distract. Because what's waiting on the other side isn't pain. It's clarity. It's peace. It's a sense of self so grounded, so rooted, that nothing outside of you can shake it again. You've spent enough time bending, shrinking, and twisting yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Now is the time to expand, not to please others, but to honor yourself. You don't need to explain your solitude. You don't need to justify your healing. You're not walking away from the world. You're walking back to yourself. And the truth is, once you truly know yourself, you'll stop tolerating anything that makes you forget your worth. Because knowing your worth isn't just a feeling, it's a standard, a boundary, a quiet power that says, I will not abandon myself to be accepted. Being alone doesn't mean you're missing out. It means you're tuning in. It means you're giving yourself the space to hear your own voice without interruption. And that voice, the one buried under years of self-doubt and noise, is where your truth lives. It's where your joy lives. It's where your peace begins to breathe again. Don't ignore it. Don't mute it just because others are louder. That voice is your compass. Let it guide you back home. You weren't made to chase love. You were made to embody it. You weren't born to beg for approval. You were born to know who you are without needing to be reminded. This is your time to rise, not by becoming someone new, but by remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. In your silence, you will find answers. In your solitude, you will find strength. And in loving yourself fully, without conditions or timelines, you will finally understand what it means to be free. You don't need fixing, you need honoring. You don't need saving, you need witnessing. Be the one who chooses you, even when no one else does. Especially when no one else does. The greatest breakthrough doesn't come when life gets easier. It comes when you become stronger in your stillness. When you no longer fear your own presence. When the mirror stops being a place of judgment and becomes a place of recognition. Because what you see staring back isn't lacking, isn't broken, isn't behind, it's you. Awake, aware, whole. And that shift, that quiet inner alignment, changes everything. You stop chasing noise. You stop chasing people. You stop chasing moments that never truly fill you. And instead, you learn to be fulfilled by something deeper, your own presence. There is a power in knowing you don't need to be understood to be at peace, that your healing doesn't require explanation, that your worth doesn't rise and fall with someone else's validation. You get to be free without permission. You get to feel joy without approval. And that freedom is what changes the way you walk through life. Because once you know that you're enough on your own, you stop attaching your value to things that can be taken from you. That's when life begins to feel less like a struggle and more like a homecoming. You begin to move differently. You choose differently. You speak differently. Not because you're trying to prove something, but because you finally accepted that you don't have to. You no longer feel the need to be louder, more impressive, more lovable. You simply are. And that simplicity, that return to your essence, is more magnetic than any performance. You stop exhausting yourself trying to fit into places that were never meant to hold you. Because now you realize you're not meant to fit. You're meant to stand in your own space, in your own power, without shrinking. When you choose solitude, you're not choosing isolation, you're choosing intimacy with yourself. You're building trust, moment by moment, with the only person who will walk with you through every single season, yourself. That kind of trust doesn't come from words. It comes from showing up, from listening, from honoring your needs, your limits, your feelings, and that is what makes you unshakable. Because when the world tries to convince you that you're behind, you'll know that you're exactly where you need to be. When it tries to rush you, you'll move with intention. When it tries to make you doubt, you'll remember your truth. This isn't about becoming someone new, it's about becoming someone real, someone who no longer hides behind busyness or distractions, someone who no longer fears quiet nights or slow mornings, someone who meets themselves with compassion instead of criticism. You don't have to wait for someone to choose you to feel worthy. You don't have to earn your right to be at peace. You were born with that right. You've simply forgotten it. But now you remember, and in that remembering you begin again, not as someone seeking, but as someone who has already arrived. Whole, steady, unapologetically free. There is a quiet confidence that rises when you stop begging life to be different and start meeting it exactly as it is. No more resistance. No more waiting for someone else to make it right. You take your power back the moment you stop outsourcing your peace. You no longer need perfect circumstances to feel grounded. You no longer require the presence of others to feel whole. Because something deeper is building inside you now, a rooted self-worth that doesn't flinch in loneliness, that doesn't collapse in silence. It holds steady, it breathes deeper, it listens not for validation but for truth. You begin to understand that not every silence is empty. Not every pause is absence. Some silences are sacred. Some pauses are necessary. They are not punishments. They are invitations. Invitations to meet yourself beyond the noise. To ask the harder questions. To face what you've been avoiding. And in doing so, you discover something most people run from all their lives. Emotional honesty. You look at your fear and you don't flinch. You sit with your sadness and you don't rush it away. You let your truth rise to the surface without judgment. And in that, you finally begin to heal. When you stop running, clarity has a chance to find you. You stop trying to fill the emptiness with distractions, and instead, you make space for transformation. Not the kind that screams with intensity, but the kind that whispers with wisdom. The kind that grows slowly, quietly, deep beneath the surface, until one day everything feels different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped abandoning yourself. You stopped apologizing for needing time. And in that stillness, you found the foundation you've been missing all along. Inner safety. There is a sacred strength in learning how to sit with yourself and not feel lost. To be alone and not feel abandoned. To be with your thoughts and not feel afraid. That's when you know you've started the real journey. Not one of achievement, but of alignment. You are no longer reaching outward to feel better. You are reaching inward to remember who you are. And every time you honor that, every time you return to yourself, you reclaim a piece of your power that was once given away. The world will always try to pull you back into noise. It will tempt you with distraction, with comparison, with urgency, but you don't have to answer that call anymore. You have another choice now, the choice to choose peace over pressure, presence over performance, and truth over approval. You're not behind, you're not missing out, you're aligning, you're anchoring. You're becoming someone who doesn't just survive the silence, but thrives in it. Because in the quiet, you've discovered your voice. In the solitude, you've met your strength. And in choosing yourself, fully and unapologetically, you've started a revolution no one else can take away. What if the greatest gift you could give yourself is permission to be fully present with who you are right now? No edits, no fixes, no conditions. Just raw, unfiltered presence. This is where true happiness begins, not in chasing future plans or past regrets, but in grounding yourself deeply in the here and now. The mind will try to pull you away with worries, with doubts, with endless what-ifs. But you can learn to quiet that noise. You can learn to be still, not as an escape, but as a powerful act of courage. Because it takes strength to face yourself without distraction. It takes strength to sit in your own company and find peace there. When you embrace being alone as a practice, not a punishment, everything shifts. You start to see solitude not as emptiness, but as a sacred space. A place where your soul can breathe. This is where you build the relationship with yourself that you've been craving in others. You begin to listen to your own needs without shame. You start to recognize your worth independent of external approval. And slowly that internal approval becomes louder than any outside voice. It's a voice rooted in truth, calm, and compassion, the kind that doesn't demand or manipulate, but simply knows. This transformation rewires your brain. Science shows that consistent moments of solitude help reduce stress, increase creativity, and deepen emotional intelligence. When you stop running from your own mind, you allow your brain to reset, heal, and grow. Your thoughts become clearer. Your emotions become manageable. Your sense of self becomes stable. This is no small thing. It's the foundation for every joyful, courageous, and meaningful choice you will ever make. The clearer you are with yourself, the more magnetic your energy becomes. Not because you seek to impress, but because you're deeply connected to who you are. You don't have to fear loneliness as a sign of failure or lack. It is a sign of your readiness to grow beyond the superficial. It means you are willing to face the parts of yourself that others might shy away from. It means you're choosing depth over distraction, authenticity over approval. And this choice doesn't just change how you feel inside, it changes what you attract in life. When you stop filling your emptiness with temporary fixes, you open the door for lasting joy to enter. You become a beacon of genuine happiness, one that others can't help but be drawn to, not because you seek their attention, but because you radiate peace. This journey is neither easy nor quick, but it is profoundly worth it. Each moment you spend alone is an investment in your freedom. Freedom from dependence, freedom from fear, freedom from the endless chase for validation. Every day you practice being alone without fear, you are rewiring your mind and heart for resilience. You are telling yourself that you are enough. Not someday, not when something changes. Now, in this moment, you are whole, you are worthy. And in that knowing, you find a happiness no one can take away. There is a profound freedom in choosing to stand alone, not as a fallback, but as a first choice. It's a declaration that your happiness does not depend on anyone else's presence or approval. This freedom transforms your entire life because it breaks the chains of dependency. Dependency drains your energy and distorts your perception. When you depend on others for your joy, you give away your power. You become vulnerable to their moods, opinions, and absence. But when you cultivate the strength to be happy alone, you reclaim your power. You become the source of your own light, steady and unwavering, no matter what surrounds you. This does not mean shutting others out or building walls. It means building a foundation so strong within that relationships become a choice, not a necessity. You learn to love company, not crave it. You appreciate connection without losing yourself in it. This shift rewires your emotional wiring. The constant need for validation fades because your inner voice becomes your guide and comfort. It is a voice that encourages without demanding, that supports without conditions. This inner dialogue is your greatest ally on the path to happiness alone. Nurture it, listen closely to it. It will never lead you astray. When you stop searching for external reasons to feel worthy, you discover that you are always enough. This truth ignites a deep, unstoppable confidence. You stop hiding your imperfections, fears, and vulnerabilities. Instead, You accept them as part of your unique self. Acceptance is not resignation, it is liberation. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of trying to be someone else's ideal. It allows you to show up authentically, which is the only way to attract genuine connections. When you embrace yourself fully, you open the door to a happiness that is not fragile but resilient, not conditional but constant. Happiness alone is not loneliness, it is a state of self-possession. It is the ability to find peace in your own presence and joy in your own company. This state is built by daily practices, small acts of kindness toward yourself, moments of stillness, affirmations of worth. Over time, these practices create a neural pattern that favors peace over panic, calm over chaos. Your brain begins to expect contentment from within rather than searching for it outside. This rewiring changes your emotional landscape. You feel safer in solitude, stronger in silence, and more vibrant in your truth. Choosing happiness alone is a radical act of self-love. It is a rebellion against the cultural pressure to always be with someone, to fill every moment with noise, to prove your worth through others. It is a declaration that you are complete on your own. This choice will challenge you. It will require courage to face the quiet and patience to build the habit. But with every step, you will feel lighter, you will feel more free, and ultimately you will realize that the deepest connection you can ever have is the one with yourself, a connection that no one can take away, a source of happiness that endures through every season of life. True happiness in solitude grows from a simple but radical truth: you are your own home. This means that no matter where life takes you, no matter who comes and goes, there is a sanctuary inside you that no one can enter or take away. This sanctuary is not built from achievements, possessions, or relationships. It is built from self-acceptance, presence, and unconditional love for yourself. When you start living from this inner home, your entire experience of life shifts. You no longer fear being alone because solitude becomes a sacred space where your spirit rests and rejuvenates. This inner sanctuary is cultivated by choosing presence over distraction. The mind often tries to escape loneliness by filling itself with noise. Endless scrolling, constant talking, busy schedules. But real happiness asks you to do the opposite, to slow down, to be still, to look within. In that stillness, you find the clarity that reveals your true desires and values. You realize how much of your life has been shaped by other people's expectations, how much your identity has been borrowed instead of owned. Solitude gives you the chance to reclaim your story and live it authentically. In solitude, you become your own best friend. You learn to speak kindly to yourself, to listen deeply, and to trust your inner wisdom. This relationship is the foundation of true resilience. When challenges arise, you don't crumble or panic. You respond from a place of grounded strength. This strength is not about toughness or hardness. It is about softness combined with courage. It is the courage to face your fears, to feel your pain, and still stand tall. The softness allows you to nurture your soul, to give yourself the compassion you deserve. This balance transforms solitude from a source of loneliness into a source of power. Choosing happiness alone means releasing the need for constant external validation. It means breaking free from the trap of comparing yourself to others or measuring your worth by someone else's standards. Instead, you set your own standards, rooted in your values and what feels true to you. This shift rewires your brain away from anxiety and toward peace. Neuroscience shows that when you practice self-compassion and acceptance, your brain releases feel-good chemicals that improve mood and reduce stress. This creates a positive feedback loop where happiness breeds more happiness, inside and out. The journey to be happy alone is not about isolation, it is about connection. The most important connection of all, with yourself. This connection changes your relationship with the world. You become less dependent on approval and more confident in your uniqueness. Your presence becomes magnetic because it radiates authenticity and peace. People are drawn to the energy of someone who is fully alive within themselves. And this energy is the source of a joy that no circumstance can diminish, no absence can erase. By choosing to cultivate happiness alone, you create a foundation that supports every other area of your life. Relationships become healthier because they are based on choice, not need. Your work becomes more meaningful because it flows from passion, not pressure. Every moment is richer because you live fully present, not distracted or disconnected. This foundation of self-love and solitude is not a destination but a lifelong practice, a practice that brings freedom, strength, and peace beyond what you ever thought possible. The most profound transformation happens when you shift your perspective on solitude itself. Instead of seeing it as emptiness or punishment, you begin to see solitude as a fertile ground where your soul can grow. In solitude, there is no one else to distract you from your truth. No noise to drown out your intuition, no need to wear masks or meet expectations. Here, you face yourself in the rawest, most honest way possible. This moment of facing yourself without judgment is the first step toward true freedom. It is where you realize that your worth does not depend on anyone's presence, approval, or validation. You are enough, just as you are. This realization is not a one-time event, but a daily choice. Every morning when you wake up, you can decide to honor your own company. You can choose to sit with yourself, to listen deeply to what you need, to be patient with your fears. This act of choosing yourself sends a powerful message to your subconscious mind: you matter. You are worthy of your own attention and care. Over time, this rewires your brain to expect kindness from within, to seek comfort in your own presence. This is the foundation of emotional independence, a state where your happiness is resilient because it is self-generated. Emotional independence is not about shutting others out or building walls. It is about building a sanctuary inside you that protects your peace. When you have this sanctuary, you can engage with the world without losing yourself. You can love deeply without clinging or fear. You can give without expecting anything in return. This balance creates relationships that are healthy and fulfilling because they are based on choice, not necessity. It also allows you to say no to what drains you and yes to what nourishes your soul. The power of being happy alone is that it prepares you for life's inevitable changes. People come and go, circumstances shift, but your inner sanctuary remains. When you learn to find joy in your own company, you build a resilience that cannot be shaken by external forces. This resilience protects you from the loneliness that often follows loss or disappointment. It equips you to face uncertainty with courage, knowing that your foundation is unbreakable. This is true freedom, the freedom to be fully yourself, regardless of what is happening around you. To cultivate this freedom, start with simple practices that ground you in the present moment. Silence your phone. Step away from distractions. Breathe deeply and focus on the sensations in your body. These small acts of mindfulness reconnect you with yourself. They remind you that your presence is enough. They build neural pathways that favor calm and contentment over anxiety and restlessness. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to be alone without feeling lonely. Choosing to be happy alone is the most radical act of self-love you can perform. It requires courage to face the silence, vulnerability to accept your own company, and discipline to prioritize your inner world. But the reward is immeasurable. A life where peace does not depend on others, where joy is a constant companion, and where you are never truly alone because you have found the deepest connection possible with yourself. There is a hidden power in solitude that many overlook because it asks us to slow down and face what we often try to avoid: our own thoughts and feelings. When you learn to be comfortable with yourself, you stop chasing temporary distractions or outside approval. Instead, you begin to tap into a wellspring of inner peace and clarity that no one else can provide. This peace is not the absence of challenges or discomfort. It is the presence of calm within the storm. It is the unwavering belief that no matter what life throws your way, your sense of self is intact and unshaken. This inner calm becomes the foundation for profound growth. When you stop running from yourself, you open the door to self-awareness. You notice patterns that keep you stuck: old fears, limiting beliefs, and unconscious habits. Awareness is the first step toward change. Without it, you remain trapped in cycles of anxiety, dependency, or dissatisfaction. With it, you gain the power to rewrite your story. You begin to choose thoughts that empower rather than diminish you. You learn to speak to yourself with kindness instead of criticism. This shift transforms your internal dialogue into a source of strength. The process of embracing solitude challenges the deeply rooted human fear of being alone. This fear is often linked to survival instincts from our earliest days, but in modern life it can become a barrier to self-love. When you start to sit with yourself without distraction, you realize that loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness is a feeling that comes from lack, from unmet needs or disconnection. Solitude is a choice, a space of freedom where you connect deeply with your inner world. By choosing solitude, you create a sanctuary where healing and creativity can flourish. Within this sanctuary, you build resilience not by avoiding pain, but by learning to face it courageously. Life will always bring hardships, but your response becomes your superpower. When you are grounded in yourself, setbacks do not break you, they refine you. You discover that your worth does not depend on success, relationships, or approval. It is inherent, unconditional. This realization frees you from the exhausting cycle of seeking validation outside yourself and allows you to live with authenticity and grace. Happiness alone also means developing a profound relationship with your desires and passions. In the quiet of solitude, distractions fade, and you hear the whispers of your true calling. You recognize what lights you up, what drains you, and what truly matters. This clarity guides your choices, leading you toward a life filled with purpose and meaning. You no longer follow a path dictated by others or societal expectations, but carve your own way with confidence and joy. To live happily alone is to become the author of your own life. You hold the pen firmly in your hands, writing each chapter with intention. This authorship empowers you to let go of people-pleasing, to set boundaries that protect your energy, and to pursue growth on your terms. You learn that being alone is not a punishment but a gift, a rare opportunity to meet yourself fully and to fall in love with the person you are becoming. This gift is the key to a lasting happiness that no external circumstance can take away. True happiness, when alone, is born from the quiet mastery of your own mind. The way you think determines how you feel and how you act. When left alone, your mind can easily spiral into doubt, fear, or loneliness if it is not trained. But when you learn to master your thoughts, you create an inner landscape that is safe, nurturing, and empowering. This mastery means you recognize negative thoughts as passing clouds rather than truths. You become an observer, not a victim, of your mental patterns. This shift grants you control over your emotional state, allowing you to cultivate peace even in silence. Mastery over your mind also involves cultivating gratitude for your own presence. Gratitude is not just for big things. It is the practice of noticing the small moments where you show up for yourself. It is appreciating the breath that fills your lungs, the stillness that offers clarity, and the strength that allows you to face another day. This daily acknowledgement of your own value rewires your brain toward positivity and hope. It strengthens your emotional resilience, making solitude feel like a sanctuary instead of a void. The power of solitude deepens when you begin to trust yourself. Trust means believing that you have what it takes to handle whatever comes your way. It means knowing your instincts are reliable guides, even when the world outside is uncertain or chaotic. Trusting yourself is a radical act of faith that nourishes courage. Courage to face your fears, to be vulnerable with your thoughts, and to take bold steps toward the life you want. This trust is the cornerstone of inner freedom. It frees you from the need to seek constant reassurance from others and empowers you to make decisions confidently and independently. When you cultivate trust in yourself, you naturally build a boundary around your energy. Boundaries are not walls to keep others out, but fences that protect your emotional well-being. They allow you to say no without guilt and yes without fear. Healthy boundaries create space for your growth, happiness, and peace. They are the self-respect you practice every day. In solitude, you become more aware of what drains you and what nourishes you, and this awareness guides you to preserve your energy for what truly matters. Solitude becomes a practice of deep self-care that goes beyond physical needs. It is an emotional and spiritual nourishment that refills your cup so you can show up fully for yourself and others. This care includes forgiving yourself for past mistakes, accepting your imperfections, and celebrating your progress. When you nurture yourself with compassion, you break free from the cycle of self-criticism and doubt that often accompanies loneliness. Instead, you develop a gentle inner voice that cheers you on, offering encouragement when life feels hard. The journey toward happiness alone is a journey inward. It is a continuous act of choosing yourself, your peace, and your growth above all else. In this choice lies power to create a life that is whole, joyful, and free from dependency. When you commit to this path, solitude stops being something to fear and becomes the most powerful source of strength you have ever known. This strength transforms not only how you live alone, but how you live fully. When you learn to embrace solitude, you start to reclaim your time, the most valuable resource you have. Time spent alone is a chance to slow down and step out of the relentless noise that pulls you in every direction. It is a sacred pause that allows your mind to rest and your soul to breathe. This pause is not a punishment or a sign of weakness, but an act of profound courage. It is the decision to prioritize your own well-being over external demands and distractions. In this choice, you build a foundation for lasting happiness that no outside circumstance can shake. Owning your time means saying no to the endless busyness that disconnects you from yourself. It means setting limits on what you accept from others and what you give away freely. Boundaries around your time protect your energy and mental clarity. This protection enables you to show up with intention in your daily life, focused, calm, and present. You become the architect of your day rather than a passenger lost in the currents of obligation and expectation. When you control your time, you regain a sense of agency that is essential for happiness. In solitude, time transforms from something to be feared into something to be cherished. You learn to fill it with activities that nourish your spirit rather than deplete it. This could be quiet moments of reflection, journaling your thoughts, meditating on what truly matters, or simply breathing deeply and noticing the world around you. Each moment of mindful solitude is a gift you give yourself, an opportunity to reconnect with your deepest desires and values. These moments become the building blocks of a joyful life rooted in self-awareness and self-love. The more you invest in your alone time, the more you realize how much external validation you no longer need. Solitude teaches you to rely on your own approval instead of seeking constant reassurance. This shift in focus reduces anxiety and insecurity because your happiness no longer depends on pleasing others or fitting into their expectations. When your sense of worth is grounded within, you become untouchable by judgment or rejection. You develop a quiet confidence that shines brighter than any external praise ever could. This inner confidence grows from practicing presence in your alone time. Presence is the ability to fully experience yourself without distraction or judgment. It is a deep listening to your thoughts and emotions, welcoming them without resistance. In presence, you discover that being alone is not lonely, but rich with opportunity for growth and healing. You find that your own company can be the most comforting and reliable relationship you will ever have. This realization is liberating because it frees you from the fear of abandonment or rejection that so often accompanies solitude. When you embrace your alone time as a sacred practice, you align with your true self. You shed the masks worn to fit in or gain approval. You discover a raw, authentic self that has been waiting patiently to be seen and honored. This self is whole, worthy, and enough exactly as it is. In this space of authenticity, happiness becomes a natural state. You no longer chase it outside yourself because you carry it within. This happiness is deep, steady, and unshakable, anchored in the truth of who you are.